The mission of our lives. Okay, the mission of our lives. When I was younger, I used to ask this question: what is my purpose? What is my reason for being here? What is the special thing that only I have to give to this world? Okay, what is that? And where over the last, 10 years, I've gotten more clear on really what my purpose is. It is still the most common question that I get. And I get this question every week from somebody. Deanna, how do I know my purpose? I feel like there's this thing that I want to do, but I'm not sure. Like I want to live my purpose. And so should I do that or should I do this other thing? And so today I'm going to talk about our highest level of the highest level of our mission, the mission of our life, our purpose for being here, our singular purpose for being here, which is our soul's purpose. And we all have the exact same soul's purpose. Now, when we get clear on the mission of our life or our soul's purpose, that's when the other things start falling into place. When we know our soul's purpose, we get the idea or we have curiosity, we know it's okay to follow through because our soul's purpose is what helps things to fall into place. Now, I want to say that through our lives, most of us look around and we're seeking something that brings meaning to our lives, right? We want to bring something either to our family or our community, maybe even the world. And usually where we start then is we look around for the purpose of our life in the conditions of our life. So a lot of people might say, oh, my job, my career, this is my purpose for being here. And I will say, when I got into holistic healing, I really believe that. I was like, this is my purpose. I'm going to be a healer. I want to help everybody because I'm here to fix y'all, right? That's what I was thinking. I'm here to fix you. I'm going to fix you. But then I had kids. And my firstborn, the moment I held him in my arms, I knew that was my reason for being here. Like, I'm here to be a mom. Like, I want to raise my kids. But then we also might have hobbies, which are other ways of being of service. When I started writing music or when I was writing poetry, I thought somebody will read this or hear this and it'll make them feel good. And that's what I want. I want to be of service somehow. But the conditions of our life change. And so it wouldn't really be our life purpose because our kids grow up. And so that can't be our purpose, is to raise kids. Our kids grow up. Of course, we can still be there for them. Our jobs change. I was in holistic healing and massage therapy, and I retired after 20 years. I don't do that anymore. Our jobs change. Sometimes people retire. Or we change our hobbies. What we love to do in our 20s may not be the thing that we feel called to do now at this time in our life. Now, these purposes, we could say purposes or callings, they're all externally motivated. Now, the mission of our life, it never changes, and it is internally motivated. And so the mission of our life guides how we show up to the conditions of our life. So the mission of our life guides how we show up to our job or career. It guides how we show up into all of our relationships, into how we do what we do. How we do what we do. It's not about what we do. Okay, so here's the mission of our life. Internally motivated. It is about accepting that we are divine in nature and that we are expressions of source energy. That is the mission of our life. To accept this, because when we can accept this is the key to everything. This is how we live our lives in faith. If we cannot accept that we are an expression of source energy, we can't live in faith because we're going to always end up looking at the conditions. Now, this is a verse from 2 Corinthians. When one turns to the Lord, the veil is removed. Now the Lord is the Spirit. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. There is freedom. And this actually contains 4 steps to our being able to live our soul's purpose. Okay, so the first step, when one turns to the Lord, when do we turn to people? We turn to people when we need some support or some help or some guidance, right? So when we turn to the Lord, what we're doing is we're acknowledging that from our place of personal will, we can't handle what's going on. We can't move forward. We can't live the big vision of our life. So we surrender personal will to divine will. I surrender my personal will to divine will. This is how we turn to the Lord. In our personal will, we're only going to ever know what's already familiar to us. And if we are seeking a bigger vision for our life, which we often are doing that, we're seeking to express ourselves in a new way. And if we ask the question, what can I bring to the world right now? This is an unknown to us. It requires bigger thinking. In our personal will, our personal will only consider current conditions and can we manage the current conditions and how would we manage the current conditions? And if we can't answer how, we won't turn to that. And so when we surrender our personal will, which is I can only manage what I already know everything about, we surrender it to divine will, we are turning to the Lord. We are turning to something greater that is within us. We turn to that. We turn to the divine. We turn to source to guide our life. This is how we move into the bigger vision for our life. This unknown quantity, this is how we move into that vision. So now we receive divine direction, guidance, inspiration, ideas, or we get curious about something. But it helps to move us through the unknown, the unfamiliar, and the uncomfortable. That's how we move through that, is by surrendering. So I surrender my will to divine will, and then the veil is removed. The veil is removed, and this is where our divine identity starts to reveal itself to us. Okay, that's the veil. The veil is covering up our connection with Source. That's what the veil is covering, right? So there's a part of us that maybe once believed we were separate from Source, but as we surrender personal will to divine will, now we're moving into this truth. Okay, God is an everywhere present force. If God is all things, and that means me, that means God's everywhere. God's infinite. God is an infinite, everywhere present. Through all space and time and dimensions, God is everywhere. Okay, so that's the veil removed. So our divine identity starts to reveal itself to us. And then we move into, now the Lord is the Spirit. Okay, this is God is everywhere present. God is everywhere present. Okay, God is all things, and that means me. So now we move into the understanding, okay, this creative force of the universe, because God is everywhere present, it's also working through me. And it is working through other people. It's working through all people. It's at work in all of the conditions. It's an infinite presence. Okay, so we move into 4, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Well, because God is all things, and it's everywhere present, I can walk in faith. When I walk in faith, divine activity is at work, even though I may not know how it's going to go to work, but it opens the way. Spirit opens the way. When I listen and act in faith, Spirit opens the way. So we listen and we act, even though we might be in unfamiliar territory, even though we may not have a clue about how things can turn out, even when we want the guarantee and we're not getting the guarantee. We are listening, we are acting in faith. Spirit opens the way because God is bigger than any obstacle that could be before us. We'll always face obstacles, but when we listen and act in faith, we can ask ourselves, okay, can I change this? Maybe I can. All right, so I'll work on that. Can I change this? Oh, nope, that ain't happening. So now what? We rise above it. We can always do one of those two things. Okay, so this is how we get through the unfamiliar territory in faith. Now, our divine nature, when we're experiencing all this, our divine nature expands out into our life. Right? This is our purpose, to allow our divine nature to expand out through us and go everywhere into the package of our life. Right? We're aligning with the Christ consciousness within us. Okay, this is also known as unity consciousness or oneness consciousness. This is our sacred identity right here. Okay, the true nature that we are here to expand all of that into our lives. Right? We're here to call forth the divine out into our lives. And we do that by listening and acting in faith. And we do that by recognizing God is all things. And we do that by acknowledging our divine identity. Right? We do that by surrendering our personal will to divine will. This is our purpose. Everything changes for us when we are aligned with the divine within us. Everything changes when we acknowledge our sacred identity. Now, alignment, when I say alignment, what it means is being in harmony with something. And in this case, it's being in alignment with the divine within, or our Christ consciousness. But to align, to be in harmony, we have to actually have movement in our lives. We can't just sit and think this all through and just keep thinking about it. We actually have to do something. So to align, we have to take an action. And if we want to align with the divine within us, we have to take an action by making choices that honor the divine within us. And we always know what kind of choice we just made. Did this choice honor the divine, or did it fail to honor the divine? Because we know how we feel after we make that choice. Now, when our choice honors the divine within us, it moves us toward harmony and peace within our own inner peace. If our choice fails to honor the divine within us, it moves us away from harmony and it moves us away from inner peace. So moving away might look like this. And this is based on a true experience that I had. And I'll let you know when I'm done, like which one I actually followed, which one I actually did. So moving away from harmony. Okay, our choice fails to honor our sacred identity. Our choices always start with an opportunity to surrender our will to divine will. Okay? And so I found myself in a situation where I was in a fairly large group. There's probably 30 people there, all these really spiritually oriented people. It was my first time there. I knew the hostess and I knew a few of the people there. But it was an uncomfortable situation for me because I'm actually very introverted. And going into a new group of people, I really got to talk myself into it. And so I'm in this new group of people. And the hostess is walking around now, and I see her. She's handing out this dessert that she's made. And I was like, oh no, because at this point, I had been off sugar and flour, I want to say for like 3 months. Okay, 3 months. And I was like, okay, right, just don't eat the dessert. It's okay. So she comes around, and now she's in front of me. She says, here, Deanna, take this. I said, oh, no, that's okay. I'm good. I'm just going to pass. But then she says, I only make this once a year. If you don't eat this, it's going to hurt my feelings. The people I'm sitting between, they're looking at me. Okay, now I have a choice here. I could stick to my guns. No, thanks, really. I appreciate that you did that, but no, thank you. It's okay. Maybe I'll take a piece home, right? But now I'm thinking, and I'm looking at the conditions, right? This is going to be really hard. Is she going to take it personally? Will they not like me? Right? I guess, okay, thank you. I just took it. And then I ate it. And I was like, man, it's okay. Just this one time, I'll be fine. But then later, I was like, that was really unfair, man. Life is unfair. Everybody's always handing out treats, and man, I hate that I said yes. It's not fair. So now, my sacred identity now is not being revealed to me because I'm feeling shame or doubt, like the unfairness of it all. And so what I'm actually feeling is I'm feeling separate from the divine. And I ended up feeling miserable. Now, instead of seeing God in all things, what I was seeing was, this is just not fair. This is not fair. So, boom. I felt stuck. I wasn't acting in faith. Instead, I was being controlled by the conditions in my life. And that did not feel good. Okay, now here's how this could have gone, moving toward peace and harmony, making the choice that honors the divine within me. Okay? I'm faced with an opportunity to surrender my will, personal will, to divine will. And my lovely hostess comes around and says, have this dessert. Oh, no, thank you. I'm going to pass. But I only make this once a year, and you're really going to hurt my feelings if you don't take this dessert. Okay, and I've got people like looking at me. But I'm thinking this all happens very quickly. Okay, God is all things. That means me. Okay, I'm the one creating my experience here. I'm the one creating my experience. This is a kind, loving person. She's not going to hate me because I don't eat her dessert. No, really. Thank you. But it looks amazing. Okay, on to the next person. Okay, on to the next person. But see, in that moment, because I surrendered to the divine within me, okay, God is bigger than this. God is bigger than my fears and my worries about all of a sudden everyone banding together and not liking me and kicking me out. But see, my sacred identity has been revealed. I made a choice that honors my commitment. I feel good about myself. Okay, and then because I made that choice that honored my commitment, I'm feeling good about myself. I can really see how God is all things. God is all things, and I just need to keep listening and acting. And I listened. I did listen, because the voice of the divine within us, it actually is not going to shout it out. Not going to shout it out, because we have to be able to choose it. Otherwise, we're not in free will. We're not in our free will, right? Our small self, who wants to just do whatever we want to do, that wants the personal comfort and all the sugar, it's going to be loud, right? It's going to be loud. Okay, but God is all things. And I walk in faith because Spirit now opens the way for me. And then I actually had a woman next to me saying, oh, I don't know how you did that. I really should not be eating this. I was like, yeah. And I will say, in this particular instance, I actually made the choice that honored the divine within me. But I've been in many situations like that where I haven't made that choice. We are faced with an opportunity to surrender our will to divine will. Okay, so we make the choice that honors the divine within us. Our sacred identity is then revealed to us. I am an expression of the divine walking around in this physical body. The activity of God is at work through me right now. That power that creates worlds, it's within me also, right? God is all things. There's nothing here to worry about because God is bigger than anything in its way. I'll just walk in faith. We just walk in faith. Now we are in our purpose. We are in our soul's purpose. And so the mission of our life is, of course, to focus on our choices, make as many choices as we can that honor the divine within us. So we're doing it more and more and more. We're making choices all the time. We're not always in our soul's purpose. Sometimes we're in our personality's comfort zone. And it happens. It happens all the time. Okay? But listening and acting in faith puts us into our soul's purpose. So here's our call to action for this week. Here, we'll start with our affirmation. And let's say this together 3 times again, because we want our brain to hear it out loud. I honor my sacred identity and live in my purpose. I honor my sacred identity and I live in my purpose. I honor my sacred identity and live in my purpose. I found this poem or this little phrase, poetic phrase from Rumi. When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy. When we do things from our soul and we feel that river of joy, let's just call it what it is, right? A river of joy. We are living in faith. We are living in faith. When we live in faith, it changes everything. It changes everything because now we can stop judging the conditions and feeling like we personally have to come up with the solutions. And our personality, and what it knows, it doesn't have all the answers, right? It has the things that we think might be right. Okay, but when we can stop focusing on how conditions need to change, and instead we're in faith, we can ask, how might the activity of God express right now in this situation? How might the activity of God work through me? Like, what kind of inspiration may I get? Or what kind of divine idea, so that I can do something right now that supports the healing of a condition in my life? How might the activity of God change all of the things I'm worrying about? Instead of all these things I'm worrying about, I can't do anything about so many of them. No, I listen and act in faith. We're not always the catalyst for something getting fixed, for something changes. It's not always us, the catalyst. Sometimes we just listen and act in faith, and we're holding the space that whatever's needed will come through that situation. Like when the spaceship, the rocket, the Apollo, I forget which Apollo, it was on the moon, and they had something break down on it. Okay, the whole country was watching this, and there was not one person sitting in front of their TV that could do anything to help these guys. But there was a team of engineers at, I want to say NASA, and they could do something. They could do something. So often what we're doing is we live in faith, and we are holding the space and the light for someone or a group of someone's who actually have the power to make changes. Right? So we just stay in our soul's purpose. So here's our invitation for this week. All week long, even if you only want to do this for one day, think about all the choices you're going to make later, right? We're going to be making a lot of choices. We can ask ourselves, am I trying to manage a condition, or am I listening and acting in faith? Okay, which one am I doing? Because we know if we are listening and acting in faith, we're being guided, we're living in our soul's purpose. As we are living in our purpose, the activity of God increases through us. And as the activity of God is increasing through us, we call forth even more of it into our lives. And as we're calling forth more of it into our lives, it is going around to everybody that we know, wherever we're sending our thoughts, right? There's not a time-space restriction on where we're sending our thoughts to. But when we're listening and acting in faith, our thoughts are even supporting people who may not be in our physical space. We just keep calling forth more of the divine into our life. And that is how we are creating heaven on earth. So remember, until next time, you are divinely designed to be doing all of this stuff. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is.